Do you want to take your crochet flower bouquets with you everywhere? This is a bag. Perfect for your essentials and oh so cute. Hi, it's Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this adorable, easy crochet flower bouquet bag. Yes, it's a purse. Can you believe it? You can make your handles, of course, any length that you like. And it opens up just like with a drawstring. And you can customize how it looks by whatever you put in the bottom of your bag. This, I am using just a cereal bowl, but you can also put in a super cute flat lid, and it just changes the shape of your bag. To make your gorgeous flower bouquet bag, you're going to need yarn. I used size 4 worsted weight acrylics, just regular acrylic. I used 100 grams of white and about 50 grams of green and about 100 grams of the darker color and about half of a ball of the light color. I do have a couple different shades, 2 different shades of flowers. So you can, of course, do all your flowers in one color. That's fine. You'll also need some stitch markers, 12 if you are new to crochet, just to help start out the bag. You'll also need a pair of scissors and a needle. Also, a yarn threader is a bit handy for this project, but not necessary, but it does help get 2 strands into your yarn needle easier. I'm also using a 6mm crochet hook for this pattern. You will also need, well, you don't need, but it's an option, find something to put at the bottom of your bag just to keep the shape of it. So this is just a lid from a container in my kitchen, a lid from a canister. This is from a strainer, the strainer part of a strainer. You could also probably find bag forms if you live in a country that has such, but you can use whatever you have. Just look around your kitchen or check out your grocery store for options. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To start your flower bouquet gift bag, we're going to start by making a magic ring. You could do a chain 3 ring if you'd like, but to do a magic ring, you're just going to lay that tail over your non-dominant hand and hold it on your ring finger with your thumb. Wrap it around your 2 fingers, making an X, and bring it around that 3rd finger, just holding it with your thumb. Turn your hand over, and you will have a short strand and a long strand. Grab your crochet hook, hook side facing down, slide it underneath the short strand and on top of the long strand. Bring that long strand underneath the short strand and point the hook towards yourself, all the way up on the fat part of your hook. Slowly release your thumb just a little bit so that long strand can slide. Put your hook underneath the long strand. Grab everything underneath your hook. Turn your hook and bring that yarn through the loop. And there is your magic ring. Chain 2, 1 and 2. This counts as our first double crochet. And now we're going to work into the center of our ring, going over our tail. So we're going to be working around those 2 strands of yarn. And we're going to make 11 double crochets. So there is 1, 2, 3. If your tail gets too small, you can just give it a little pull, just so we still can work over it. We don't want to lose our tail as we work our way around. And you can pause the video and keep working around. You want to make 11 double crochets, 12 including that starting chain. So pause the video and I'll meet you back. So there we have our 11 double crochets, 12 including that starting chain. And we are ready to close up our ring. So just pull your tail nice and snug. And now into the top of our chain right here, we're going to slip stitch to join. So just pop in your hook. You want 2 strands of that chain on the top of your hook. Slip stitch to join. Chain 1, and into the very same chain, that very same spot right there, we're going to make 1 single crochet. and 1 half double crochet into the same stitch. Right there, 1 half double crochet. We're starting our spiral. If you're new to crochet, you can grab a stitch marker and just pop it in to that single crochet we made. Our first stitch right there, just so you know where your single crochet is as you work your way around. Into the next stitch right here, so you have to pick up that strand in the beginning and pair it with that strand at the back. That is 2 double crochets into the next stitch. 1 and 2. And now 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around our circle. So 2 double crochets into each stitch. You can pause the video and meet me back when you get closer to where we began or where our stitch marker is right over here. If you'd like to follow along with the written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. When you reach back to where we began, you can see our single crochet is right there. So into that stitch with our stitch marker, our first single crochet, we're going to make 2 double crochets. You can pop the stitch marker out if it's in your way, or leave it there until you have your hook inside that stitch so you know which one it is. 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. We're going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1. So now we have our pairs of stitches all the way around. Remember those 2 double crochets we made into each stitch. Now the first one of the pair, right here, which is our next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets into the first stitch and 1 double crochet with a chain 1 into the second. So I've done my chain 1 into the next stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Into the next stitch, so the last stitch of that pair, 1 double crochet and a chain 1. So we're just building these sets of 3. So into the first stitch, 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and into the next stitch, 1 double crochet and a chain 1. It'll make sense later, just keep following along with me. So into the first stitch, 2 double crochets, and into the next stitch, 1 double crochet and a chain 1. So there's my double crochet and there's my chain 1. So see how we're building these sets of 3? We're going to do that all the way around. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch of the pair, 1 double crochet and a chain 1 into the second, just like that. You can pause the video, keep working around, 2 double crochets into the first stitch of the pair, and 1 double crochet with a chain 1 into the second, all the way around, and I'll meet you when we get back right over here. So I'm just going to pop a stitch marker just to mark that area. That's where a new round begins. So we're on to round 3, and we just have to finish round 3 on this side. So pause the video, keep working around, 2 double crochets into the first stitch and 1 double crochet with a chain 1 into the second, all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right over here where we began. So now I am back to where we began, so 3 rows all the way around. I'm back to that stitch marker, and I've finished our set on this side, changing the 2 to the 3. Now we're going to change our 3 to 4. So we're always doing a chain 1 space in between our sets. So chain 1, and into the first stitch of our pair, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So the first stitch always gets 2, 1 and 2, and each of the rest of the stitches, doesn't matter how many there are, each round is going to add more of these double crochets. So now we have 2 rows. Each of these stitches gets 1 double crochet into each. There's 1 and 2. and we chain 1 to get to our next set. If you are new to crochet, you can grab some stitch markers and just pop a stitch marker into each of your chain 1 spaces. It'll help when you're going around to identify your, where you're skipping over to see your sets. So we have 12 sections. We'll need 12 stitch markers. There. So now you can see where our chain 1 spaces are. And every time we get to a chain 1 space, we just chain 1 and get to the next section. These little slices of pie right there. So into the first stitch, 2 double crochets, and into each of the rest of the stitches, 1 double crochet into each. So 2 double crochets into the first stitch of that slice, and 1 double crochet into the rest. Doesn't matter how many there are. For this round, there are 2, but it will keep growing. So as it gets bigger, there's going to be more of these double crochets per slice or per section of your gift bag. So 2 double crochets into the first, and then 1 double crochet into the rest. So that's how it's going to be growing. So for now, that's what we're up to. When you get to a space, we just do a chain 1, and into the next section, we just start. So 2 double crochets into the first, and 1 double crochet into the rest. Chain 1 to get to your next section, 2 double crochets into the first, one double crochet into each of the rest. Chain 1 to get to your next section, and you can just keep repeating that all the way around. You can pause the video, 2 double crochets into the first, 1 double crochet into each of the rest, and I'll meet you when we get back to where our starting stitch marker is, or where we started our spiral, which is right over here. So there I am, back all the way around. I'm going to swap out this 1 stitch marker at our join, and I'm just going to use a different color. I'm going to move my joining one up just so I know where our join is as I'm working around. Probably a little easier to see. So that's round 4 done. Now we're going to start round 5, and we're just going to do the exact same thing. So to get to the next section, chain 1 and into the first stitch, 2 double crochets, and into each of the rest, 1 double crochet into each. And chain 1 to get to the next section. So we're just going to keep doing this around and around until your circle is the diameter that you want your bag to be, or until you have almost run out of yarn. When your circle is the size you want it to be, mine is 14.5 inches across. I have a little bit of yarn left, so this is just 1 ball. I'm trying to do it with 1 ball of yarn, or 100 grams. So I have a bit left, and I'm ready to start, the next step. So yours can be any size. It could be smaller. It could be bigger. It doesn't matter the size that yours is. How it is going to be is if you cinch it all up, that's about how much of a gift you can put in the bottom of it. Do you know what I mean? So you just have to kind of see what you want to put inside and how big does it have to be for that. I'm just doing mine to fit 1 ball, so I have done 12 rounds, and I have a bit of yarn left. So when you have 4 stitches left of your last round, we are going to do 2 half double crochets, 1 into each stitch. So there's a half double and a half double, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the last stitch, 1 single crochet, and into the space, we're just going to slip stitch into that space, just to taper down our circle. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and into our first stitch, just our regular first stitch, 1 double crochet. So this counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet into the first stitch. Chain 1, skip 1 into the second, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, into the second, 1 double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet. We're doing this all the way across our section. Chain 1, skip 1. So we're skipping 1 and into the second, 1 double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1 and into the second, 1 double crochet. Now, depending how many stitches you have for your section, yours could look a little bit different than mine. You could have a different number of spaces. It's okay, it's not going to matter. We still want to always do a chain 1 and skip over our section. And into the first stitch, we're just going to do our normal 2 double crochets, but with a chain 1 in between. We're just building spaces. So into that first stitch, 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 1 double crochet into the same stitch. So that's the new first stitch of our row. And then we're doing a chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet into the second, all the way across our section. So chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet into the second, all the way along until we get to that chain space. If yours ends like this, I'm just going to do my chain 1, skip 1, and I'm going to make my double crochet right into that space. And then chain 1 and 1 double crochet into that first stitch. So that's going to count as my first V-stitch, just not into the same stitch, just into that space. And then chain 1, skip 1 all the way along until your next space. So you can pause the video and just keep working all the way around, doing a chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet all the way around, and then 2 double crochets with a chain 1, either into the space and the first stitch or into the first stitch, depending on your stitch count for your sections. So pause the video, keep working all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you get back to where we did our little step down, we're just going to work into those stitches just like usual. I'm also going to hope I have enough yarn to finish those stitches. It would really be horrible to have to join a new yarn for like 1 stitch. So just keep working along with your chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet all the way along. And I think if in doubt, you can always put in an extra double crochet chain 1. This is just we're going to be weaving in our ribbon or our tie. So more is better than less. And then we're just going to slip stitch in to the second chain over. We don't want to slip stitch right to the top. We want to leave that 1 chain space. We're going to slip stitch right there. Oops. And chain 1 to secure your yarn. Yeah, I made it. Snug that down. And now we can pop out all of these stitch markers and move on to the leaves. To start the leaves, grab a loop of your leaf-colored yarn, and we just want to go into any of these stitches. It doesn't matter where we start. Just pop your hook into one of those stitches, loop of your leaf color yarn on your hook, bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail, and chain 2. 1 and 2. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. So we're just going to be doing this all the way around, just making little chain spaces, giving ourselves some distance and working around. So chain 2, single crochet into the stitch, chain 2, single crochet into the stitch, all the way around. So you can pause the video, keep working around, and I'll meet you when you get back over here where we began. When you get back to where we began, we're just going to slip stitch right in between those legs. We're going to pretend that is our first single crochet right down at the bottom right there. So just insert your hook in between the legs of that first slip stitch and slip stitch to join, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip one of these single crochets and make one single crochet into the second. So just making bigger loops. We're going to put our leaves on these loops here. So chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip a single crochet and one single crochet into the second. Just like that. We did a chain 5 to start because our very first chain is going to count as our single crochet. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, skipping a single crochet and into the second, one single crochet. Just like that. So you can pause the video, keep working around, doing a chain 4 and single crochet into the second stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get back right over here where we began. So I got back to where I started, and I only have one space left, so I can't skip 2 and just join nicely. Maybe you can. If you can, then just go ahead, do your chain 4, and you are going to slip stitch right into the legs of that first chain right there. If you're like me and you have one space left, I'm just going to make some slightly smaller chain here and just kind of fudge. It's okay. Nobody's going to see this at all. It's only support for our flowers, and the more flowers, the better. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to slip stitch. So it's either a chain 4 and you skip over, or a chain 3 and you just get right on in there. So slip stitch to join, and now we're ready to start our leaves. So to make a leaf, we do a chain 2, 1 double crochet into the space, picot, so a picot is a chain 3, and a slip stitch into that first chain, 1 picot, a treble crochet, so wrap your yarn twice. All of this is into our space. There's our treble crochet. Now we're going to do a double crochet and a chain 2 to get back down, and we're just going to slip stitch into that single crochet to pin down our leaf. So that is our first leaf, and we're going to do that into each space all the way around. So all of these spaces are getting a leaf. Chain 2, double crochet into the space, picot, so chain 3, and slip stitch just into that front strand of the first chain we made. Wrap your yarn twice, 1 treble crochet, and a double crochet into the same space. Chain 2 to get back down, and slip stitch into the stitch to finish off our leaf. Just like that. So you can pause the video, keep working around. We're going to be doing a chain 2, a double crochet, a picot, a treble crochet, a double crochet, a chain 2, and a slip stitch into the stitch to finish it off. So pause the video, keep working around, doing a leaf into each of these spaces all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you get back to where we started and you've finished your leaf, so I've done my chain 2, I'm just ready to pin it down. I'm just going to do exactly that. I'm just going to go into that same stitch and slip stitch to join, chain 1 to secure my yarn, cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. And now we are ready to do the flowers. To make your flowers, we're going to start by making a slip knot and a chain 14. If you want bigger flowers, you could do a chain 16. If you want smaller flowers, you could do a chain 12. So chain 14, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13, 14, and 15. Into the third chain, right down here, we're going to make 1 double crochet. Into the next chain, we're going to do 2 double crochets. There's 1 and 2. And now into each of the chains all the way down, we're going to do 3 double crochets into each. So we start with 1, 2, and then 3 all the way down, just into one loop of that chain. So wrap your yarn 3 double crochets into each stitch or each chain. So there's my 3 double crochets into that one chain. And I'm going to do that into the next chain and every chain down. Every chain's going to get 3 double crochets. You can pause the video, just keep working along, 3 double crochets into each chain, and I'll meet you when you have finished your last chain right down there. When you've finished your 3 double crochets into each of those chains, I'm just going to slip stitch straight in to that same chain. So just slip stitch and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Now you want to leave a long tail because we're going to use this to sew up our rose or our flower. So about a foot, something like that. Pull your yarn through and snug that down to secure. Thread your needle. And now we want to roll up our rose. So unroll it a bit. We want our top to be flat. So all of those pretty little V's, all of our stitches up at the top of our flower, just bringing it around like that. And flip it over. We want to be able to see all those stitches at the bottom. Grab your needle, just look where it's coming from, right there, and just go all the way back. We want to be under, we don't want to see our needle, we want to make sure we're going through all of those layers across. Move over a couple stitches and go all the way back. Just in a slightly different direction. And we're just going to keep doing this around and around until our flower is nice and secure. There, just like that. I still have a long tail. I still have my needle also threaded on the one side. Now we're ready to attach this cute little flower onto the edge of our gift bag. So now you have sewn together your flower and your tails are coming from opposite sides. So there's the good side and there's our tails, just opposite sides. Doesn't have to be exact. And now we're going to attach them onto our leaves, and we want them far away from these holes here. So we're going to attach, one place we're going to attach is underneath a couple strands of this leaf. So it was good to grab a small crochet hook. This is a 3.75 only because it was handy. A smaller one's even easier. And just grab your flower, just put a tail through one direction, like that, and then follow that yarn with your crochet hook and bring the other tail in the opposite direction. Just back through like that, and now cinch it up. And just in case you're changing colors for your flowers, if you're not changing colors, it's fine. You can go ahead and give this a triple knot and cut it off. If you are arranging different colors, like I'm going to be, just go ahead and just make a little bow and then get all of your flowers arranged all the way around. So that's our first attachment spot, is right underneath those stitches on our leaf. The second place we're going to attach is up here. just underneath, like in between two leaves. It doesn't matter exactly, you just want to go underneath a couple strands of yarn, right where our leaves join, up here. And I'm going to be using my different color. So that's why it's good to start by just tying them on so you can just make sure. But if you're using the same color, then it doesn't matter. The placement's going to be perfect. Oops. So just drag those tails through. You could also use a needle if you felt like it. But this is just a bit faster. You don't have to thread a needle. So just tie them on where you want them to be with a cute little bow, and then you'll be able to see if you like your color order. So for mine, I'm going to be attaching 3 dark purples and then a light purple. So I'm going to keep going all the way around, and we'll see if we have to adjust it or change the pattern a little bit depending on how many leaves you have. So the next leaf is going to go right here into the base of a leaf. Then we're skipping the leaf and going right into the valley. Skipping the leaf and going into the next one, those stitches right underneath. And we're just going to repeat that all the way along. So into a leaf and into a valley, into a leaf and into a valley, all the way along. And I'll meet you when you have all of your flowers attached. So I have all of my flowers tied on all the way around, and I have this space left. So I'm just going to space out my last 3 flowers just a little bit more. You could also put in an extra flower if you wanted, but just be mindful that it doesn't have to be totally perfect. And because this gathers up, I'm choosing to have less flowers than more flowers. So I'm just going to space out these last 3. So when your flowers are how you want them to be, we are ready to finish them off. So pick one flower and we're just going to make a triple knot. So once, twice, and 3 times. You want to make sure that yarn isn't slipping like that. You can cut your tails so they're approximately the same length. Grab a yarn needle. I'm just using one of these big, large-eyed ones so I can fit both strands in at the same time. It's just faster. Just like that. And now I'm just going to poke these tails through my flower. So up one side and out the other. And then cut them off. So now you can pause the video and do that for all of your flowers. And then we are ready to do the bow. Now we're ready to make our handles. Just grab 2 stitch markers and just put them on opposite sides of your circle. So there is 6 panels in between each stitch marker halfway through. That's going to mark, well, we just need it for our handles, so they're nice and easy to open and shut. I'm also making my handles the same color as my bag. So I'm just going to be using some white yarn. And you want to use 2 strands at a time. We're going to need our tails also for sewing them in later and just really attaching our handles. So leave about 5-inch tails. Make a slip knot. Shrink that down, and we're going to chain 35. 1, 2, 3, 34, and 35. Just pinch that last chain we made. We want to chain 2, 1 and 2, and slip stitch into that second chain. Just going to slip stitch and chain 35 more. 1, 2, 3, 34, and 35. So there is our first handle. You cut your yarn. Again, we want to leave about a 5-inch tail. We need to attach it to our bag. Pull your hook up and your yarn through, snug that down to secure, and make one more. You need 2 pieces. So there's my two handles. Grab your center, your bag. And for the tutorial, just for showing you how, I'm going to use different colored handles just so you can see where they're going in and out. So I'm just going to start with the blue one, but for my bag, I'm going to be using the white. Thread both tails through a yarn needle. And at that intersection, or at that space where you have divided your circle in half, we're just going to start right up here at the top. So we have our V, that increase right there. We're just going to start right after. It doesn't totally matter where. I'm just starting here. So we're going to go underneath 3, 1, 2, 3 of those posts, and over top of 3, 1, 2, 3 of those posts. So we're just going to do that all the way around. Under 3 and over 3. So now we're going to go over 1, 2, 3 and under 3. Over 1, 2, 3 and under 3. And your bag is going to shrink up. Keep this little extra or little slip stitch. That is going to stay right over here where that other stitch marker is. So just keep pulling it through and gathering up your bag. So skipping 3, 1, 2, 3, and going under the next 3. And we're going to do this all the way around. So you can pause the video, just keep working along over top of 3 and underneath 3. Well, actually, I'm just going to get there anyway together because now we are. So see where my stitch marker is, the opposite stitch marker? That's where we want our little bump to be. That marks half of our bag. So I'm going to leave that there, and now you can pause the video and keep working along over top of 3 and under 3, all the way around. I'll meet you when you get back to where we started, right over here. So there we are, back where we started. And for my size bag, I do have 4 stitches or 4 of those posts. I'm just going to leave them like that. It's not going to bother me. So these 2 tails here, we can knot them together right up where our chains start. And we're also going to attach them to our bag. Separate my tails, and I'm just going to attach them at this join. So I'm just going to take one underneath, and then these 2 can also get knotted, just so this knot stays where it is, it stays put, doesn't slide around your bag. Also make sure no one will ever see it. So the second tail, I'm going to do the same thing, just find a fat part at that same intersection to bring one tail through, and then again knot it. Now I would go ahead and sew in these tails, just matching the yarn color. So that's the first side, and it is attached to our bag. Now flip your bag over. We want to find where that other stitch marker is. Right here. And we want to start our second handle in that same spot. So thread your next handle, those tails, onto your needle. And now we're going to pick up the center strand in behind. I'm just going to pick up this strand. And I'm going to pick up the next strand over, the center one. So the center strand on top. Get that pulled through. And the center strand behind. The center strand on top. The center strand behind. So you can pause the video, keep working along. We are grabbing the center stitch on the ones that are on top and the center stitch behind the ones that are under. And we're just working all the way around. So the one on top and the one behind. And again, I'm going to keep that slip stitch going with me until I get to our join. So that's where our slip stitches are going to line up. Center stitch on top and the center stitch behind. Although we have 2 stitches behind on this one, so I'm just going to grab one. It doesn't matter. Like that. And now I'm going to pull my slip stitch through that little bump we made in the middle of our handle so it can hang out at the join right there. And now pause the video, keep working around, and I'll meet you when you get back over here where we started. So there we are back where we started. So again, we can just knot these tails. Take one of those tails out of your needle and just look for that center stitch or that V you made at that join. And one tail is going to go into one part of it, one stitch. Try to go into the fat part and knot this one. And do the same with the other tail, like that. And knot this tail. Now sew in your tails. Now depending what you use for the bottom of your bag, I'll show you what they look like. This is the strainer. This is a little cereal bowl. This is a lid. And this is a smaller lid. Just wiggle your handles around a few flowers so it comes up more in the middle of your bouquet. And you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.